Hello on Exiles, Talkative Try here with a very special podcast guest. It's KittenCatNoodle, the Loremaster of Path of Exile herself. Noodle, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Playing on my monk in preparation. I'm hoping to get to endgame on my second character because first character was a little bit slow, but I have gotten through the entire campaign and some of the endgame. So I'm hoping I have enough information for some juicy lore today.
Ooh, excellent, excellent. So your first playthrough, we'll talk about gameplay really quickly, and then we'll
Okay.
get into the story. Your first playthrough was on the Ranger, and it was
Mhm.
tough a lot of the time, I think.
Honestly, it was completely fine until about Act 2 Cruel. I think, for one, I wasn't watching anybody else because I didn't wanna get spoiled, and so I was kinda going through and, like, Lightning Arrow was good, and Freezing Salvo was good, and Snipe was good, and then I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna do Lightning, but Stormcaller Arrow kinda sucked," and then I don't know, I just it sorta got lost. I was trying
Yeah.
every single different, skill except for the 3 apparently that just got nerfed. Literally, I think I tried almost every skill except for Tornado and Magnetic Salvo. So it was okay, but it was slow. Like, it was slow, and I was like, "I gotta get I gotta get the information." Like, I
Right.
can't be taking 15 minutes to do every map. Like, that's not gonna work.
100%. Totally get that.
Yeah.
Especially with the sizes of the maps and everything and
Mhm.
going through. Now, were the bosses giving you trouble, or was it like the monster packs were just so overwhelming with your character?
It was more the monster packs, but the
Yeah.
bosses were taking a really long time, and I would say the first time I was getting really, because most of the bosses I was still able to get down
Yeah.
first or second try, but it was taking a long time, and
Uh-huh.
then Act 3 Viper in Cruel showed me what for. Like, she absolutely kicked my ass. I was getting so pissed. I was like, "I don't know what to do." Like, I either can't have the, offenses or I can't get the defenses, and I have to pick between evasion and resistances, and Exalted Orbs and Regal Orbs felt like diamonds that I spent every single one that I found, like, immediately, and then you get a shit roll, and you're like, "Oh, okay, well, now I've ruined this item."
It's rough. It's
So
rough. I've had that with boots. I've found almost GG boots, five
mhm.
excellent mods, and then I'll slam it with an exalted orb, just hoping it hits movement speed. And every time it's like one life regen, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't want that. Come on, what's going
Ooh,
on?
stun threshold.
Oh, please no,
Perfect.
no. It's it's rough. It is.
Yeah.
It's nice when it does hit, but
Mhm.
man, that is so rare.
Oh, yeah. But just switching to the monk immediately, like, no, just a white staff, I'm one-shotting the mobs at the beginning, and I'm like, "Wait, I don't even have, like, I'm not even using a skill yet." I'm
Right, right.
one-shotting things.
And you have the
It's night
bell.
and day.
The bell.
Yeah. The bell is amazing. Yeah,
Thank you, bell
it's so
designer.
good.
It I saw a funny meme the other day where it's like, "Oh, look, a fresh new monk build," and then it takes the mask off and it's just Tempest Bell,
It's
it's
just the
carrying the
bell.
bill every single time. It's so
For
right
real.
though, because I'm even in Endgame. It's my
Mhm.
"oh crap" button, right? I'll get
Oh,
surrounded by
yeah.
monsters and I'm just like, "All right, bell it up," and then they'll
Oh,
just all
literally.
explode. Yeah,
Every
it's
time
just
you get surrounded, you're like, "Oh, bonk."
100%. Okay,
Yeah.
so Noodle, you're on the
Mhm.
Ranger, you're on the Monk. Let's first, before we get into like the actual juicy lore of the acts, how do you like each character's dialogue and personality so far? I know you've only experienced two,
Mhm.
but man, are they distinct. I played through on the Monk, and my friend was playing through on the Witch. Their outlooks on Rayclast and the events that are happening are just like night and day. It's crazy.
Hmm. Yeah, the ranger is pretty bland
It
with
is?
dialogue, not gonna lie. It's really she's there's some interesting bits where people are like, "Oh, you're the woman in the woods," and, there's some references to her potentially being a magi from the Viridian Wildwood, which is really cool,
Mm-hmm.
if true, but really she's just like, "Wow, I should really do the thing I'm supposed to do right now.
Oh, she's a
What an
goody two
interesting
shoes.
place I'm in," and it's just milk toast completely. The monk
Especially
is super interesting though.
right. That's the one I played through. and
Mhm.
his perspective is not very Rayclastian. And from the did you look at those
Mhm.
posters that came out before the
Mhm.
game that were saying, okay, this is why we're looking for X individual?
Yes.
Yeah, and the monks was like, yeah, he murdered all of his fellow brethren in the monastery, and I was like,
Mhm.
whoa, he's a bad guy. And then you get to know the monk, and he's like the best guy around. What is going on?
Well, I don't know if those posters are super trustworthy either because while the warrior says that he's missing, they're like, "Oh no, where is he? We need to find his missing son." And it's like, "You have him. You're about to hang him. You know where he is, Count."
Hey, yeah, now that I'm thinking about that too, I've played through Act 1 on the warrior, and I was doing full immersive. I don't
Mhm.
remember any man, I must have just totally missed it. Interesting dialogue about that because you'd think that
Well,
there's something deeper there between the count and the blacksmith who's his dad and the crew because the
yeah.
blacksmith obviously, he found him on the riverbank when he was a baby and all that's very cool. But there wasn't a lot, between the count and the warrior, which is weird. But I
And,
don't
like,
remember.
what about between your dad?
That was
Like,
nice.
you
No,
talk to your
he was good.
dad.
He was
Okay,
good.
okay.
Renly
There's
was
unique
great.
dialogue there at least?
Yeah, there is unique
Okay,
dialogue with
good.
Renly. Yes, 100%, very nice, very
I am eventually
chill.
gonna do that,
So,
but
yeah, it is
okay.
interesting to see a few of the differences. I think a lot of it appears to be in Act 1 thus far.
Mhm,
One of the biggest, let's just skip right to Act 2 really quick. One of the
mhm.
biggest ones that I had to go and see what all the characters said is what happens when you reach the head of the Ardura caravan and seeing what all
Mm.
your characters say. I feel like that's an
Oh,
enlightening moment for all the characters, with the
yeah.
monk, the monk is like, oh, once the dreamer's in charge, oh, this slavery's gone from Ray class, don't you worry. And I don't know if you remember what the ranger said. Was it another milk toast thing?
Yeah, she was basically like, the Mariketh are a brutal civilization."
Oh no.
Cool. Good observation. Yeah, slavery
That's
is bad. I
that's
agree.
that's right. That's right. Well, that's the choice, Noodle. If you're like, okay, person wants to get into PoE2, doesn't want to be making fun of slavery, doesn't want to be saying I'm going to commit genocide to get rid of slavery. Let's just go with the ranger, who's just like bad
Mhm.
slavery. So there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
So the actual acts themselves, and just by the way, everybody, anybody watching this video on YouTube or on stream, I'm not sure if you got the lore book Noodle or the art book Noodle, but it
Mhm.
contains heavy spoilers for Acts 4 and 5. I've read it.
Oh.
None of that is going to influence this conversation. We're not going to talk about Acts 4 and 5 at all. Okay. I don't want to spoil this for anybody. We're just going to talk about what's actually in the game. And then at the end,
Mhm.
maybe I'll pick Noodle's brain about some speculation and keep my mouth shut entirely. I
Okay,
won't
yeah,
even
no
smile.
spoilers.
And no spoilers. I don't want to ruin that.
Mhm.
So, Act 1 Noodle. You sent me a message today saying
Mhm.
Act 1, ugh. What are your
Mhm.
thoughts on the lore of Act 1 of PoE2?
Well, I think the story of the characters in Act 1 is fine and interesting. I think all of them have their own little bits. I mean, Una is just really sweet. She has her moments with the face spirits and whatever with the Grim Tangle, which is kind of like Yina. It's like sort of interesting mystical figure, and then her relationship with Finn, who is of questionable heritage, like potentially had an important father that we don't know exactly who it is. And Renly's nice, you know, he's there too. I am disappointed in the lack of context, like connecting this to what we already know about Esamir. Like Ogum is
Mm,
in Feral, which is at the very top of the map, and like most of Esamir that we know from Path of Exile 1 is in, the Isle of Scoth,
mhm,
which is very far south. So, basically, anytime they're talking about stuff in their past, like the Red Veil, right? I was like, "Oh my gosh, I wonder if this is related to the, Purity Rebellion and the Bloody Flowers and Rigwald, because Count Geonor is the Mad Wolf and stuff." And they're specifically like, "This is not the Bloody Flowers Rebellion, and
mhm.
Rigwald
I
wasn't
remember that.
here,
I remember that.
but it was a battle." and a lot of people died. And it's like, okay, cool. I guess that's cool. Like who led the battle from here? Like, was it Count Lachlan? Like, is that why? But I don't know. There's some interesting stuff, like Ogham being founded and like the first place the Ezamites came to after they escaped something that's like leading to
Yeah.
something, but there's no answers to either stuff that was set up before or to the stuff that they set up now. And it's just kind of like, okay,
Right.
cool.
I get that. So I feel like they didn't want to do a bunch of connections to Path of Exile 1 lore. Really? They wanted it to be in the world of Rayclass, but then
But you
they didn't.
played through Act Two.
What? Right. Yes. Yes. At least at the beginning, like Act 1.
Mhm.
Like, I feel like Act 1, they didn't want to be like, oh, here's a, like you're saying, Rigwald could have been the dude who fought in this big battlefield, and they're like, no, let's stray away from that. Oh, let's introduce a lot of new characters. They do talk about like the Eternal Empire and everything. When I was playing through, people were asking me like, oh, Eternal Empire. I remember watching your video, dude. What is the Eternal Empire again? And they were getting kind of interested in it. But a lot of it,
Mhm.
yes, I think they were kind of setting up questions and then not
Mhm.
necessarily diving very deep into them with the characters that we were introduced to. The story
Mhm.
kept felt like it was moving along very quickly, especially once you kill the executioner, and I guess that's near the end of Act 1.
Yeah.
But like when you save
Yeah.
that girl, I thought we were going to get a lot more from that girl.
Oh,
I can't
for
remember her
sure.
name, right?
For sure, latest, yeah.
Like,
When we did the, gameplay demo in March, like, I got all of her dialogue, and I was like, "Oh my god, she probably has so much more interesting stuff," like, she talks about the Countess, she talks about
hmm?
what the Count is doing and all this, and then that's all she says when she's, like, somebody who was there with the Count before and after, like, in that circle, she says things like, everyone developed strange proclivities, and they would take people into their room, like the either the count and countess or all of the nobles would take people into their room at night, and then the people would disappear, which is like
What's going on?
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably weird. Yeah, I the way they did it was very PoE1, where they're setting up a lot of things that are interesting, and I don't know if they're gonna explore more stuff later, but compared to Act 2, which is my favorite, it felt very, like, not rushed, but sort of like a self-contained story about people and not really about lore, I
Right,
guess.
right. I
Yeah.
I do agree. It's focusing just on those individuals in the town and their little stories, like Renly,
Mhm.
Blacksmithery, and the wow, I really bad with names right now. The guy who is connected to the rituals and the King of the Mists and going there with that wild cult and everything.
Oh, yeah,
Like
Finn. Mhm.
Finn, yep. It's not diving deeper into Rayclast and really trying to
Mhm.
hook people. I feel like you're totally right, and that does actually happen in Act 2, where you do have the air to breathe and you're going to all these different environments, and you're not just staying in this one little secluded place in
Mhm.
Ezomir, and you're just going all across the desert. And that
Yeah.
I so I don't want to rush past into Act 2. I just want to talk
Yeah, yeah,
briefly
no,
about
I
no, because my favorite moment in the entire story, and one that I think it's my favorite moment in the entire game so far, gameplay
Mhm.
wise, story wise, everything, is that final battle against Count Geonor. Just
Oh,
everything that
yeah.
happens there, I think it's
Mhm.
just absolute cinema, and I will die on that hill. I hope that that is what the final three acts have in them, because even though I really like
Yeah.
the Act 2 final boss and the Act 3 final boss, we'll talk about him in a little bit. They're great, man. When you're fighting Geonor and he like talks about Agnar, the sword, and that poem, like,
Mhm.
did you enjoy that? And then how it ended?
I Yes, I absolutely love that whole fight. I love that it's basically a rhythm battle at that point while you're listening to slam poetry, and I have to go back and, like, transcribe all of the text there because luckily, that's the one benefit of the ranger. I'm pretty sure I saw the whole poem. So, um, yeah, absolutely so good, and they also set up so much interesting stuff about him, like that his big fear about having, eternal blood in his lineage, and then, like, what is his lineage? Because Renly's talking about how he's a count that, was given this because of his blood instead of being picked by the clans, and, like, how recent is that? And just in general, like, I personally have really always wanted to know more about Esamir, and I think that's why the fact that it was like, we're in Esamir and it's a contained story is, like,
Yeah.
just what
Yeah.
kind of bothers me, even though there's really good elements, and the whole King in the Mist thing is interesting where, it's a group of the clanless that
Mhm.
basically become the cultists. And if we're assuming the ranger is from the Viridian Wildwood, that would make sense because that means people cultists from there are coming and traveling into this area because she lived in the woods there. There's good stuff. It's just not enough Esamir.
Yeah, it didn't go in. It was surface level just for the environments, and then really a lot about the characters and the
Mhm,
seed of corruption and freeing the hooded one. And on that sword and Count Geonor. Okay.
mhm.
So it's Agnar is this is might be just semantics, but I really thought that Agnar was
Uh-huh.
going to be a Kalguran weapon because of all the runes like
Ah.
inscribed into it. And I thought there was going to be a tie-in somehow, but then it ends up being an ancient Ezomite weapon that's been passed down and was passed to Count Geonor and everything. So, do you think there is some sort of Kalguran connection to Esamir? I mean, they're like on totally opposite ends of Ray class too, so I don't know how that
Mhm.
would work. But it just looks so Kalgur to me. I don't
It
know.
has to be, it has to be. I mean, Johann in Settlers of Calgary literally says, "Do you know of the Ezamites? Because they have the same kind of runes as us," which is weird. I
Right.
mean, not that's not an exact quote, but
Yeah, it's
basically,
literally.
um, so yeah, I was also anticipating that there would be some setup to it being Calgary. The only setup is that the Ezamites founded Ogham, which is the first place of the Ezamites, and when they started calling themselves the Ezamites, I think,
Mhm, mhm.
in, like, 1132, so, like,
Okay,
190
chill
years
out,
before
Noodle.
the Purity
Chill out
Rebellion.
with your freaking year citations. All right,
I gotta know these things, I gotta write them down. I was curious, I was like, "How long before the Purity Rebellion?" Because at first, when I
Mhm.
saw the number, I was like, "Is that 2 years before the Purity Rebellion?" But it's, like, 190. Um And that's a pretty distant amount of time, but that's not
Yeah.
like when the Calgar came to
Mhm,
Rayclast, which is
mhm.
way farther back than that, which
Yeah.
is when I think the Calgar and whoever the Ezamites were, like, met, but they weren't called the Ezamites, and that might be why it's not written in the Calgaran texts about it, but there's clearly a connection, and I'm really hoping that Act 4, when we go to King's March,
Mhm.
will do something with that. Cause yeah.
And so a little bit more spoiler for like Act 3 at the end. We're looking for a precursor weapon when we go to the Kuri archipelago and everything. I so thought that Agnar was going to be some sort of precursor, like some powerful artifact. I wonder
Ah.
if that'll play in somehow, like maybe Sin picked up Agnar and we bring it to like King's March and somebody's like, yo, we've been missing. The king has been looking for that forever, guys. You know, the mysterious king who we're totally going to meet. Okay. It's going to happen.
Oh,
Not.
yeah. It better. I really hope it does.
Yeah, right. I know. That's one thing that I hope is paid off on in the act story. Okay, I
Mhm.
just wanted to talk about Agnar a little bit. And that moment when the hooded one drops his ass down on top of Geonor in that like little heartfelt exchange where it's like, "Oh, Geonor wasn't that bad, you know? I know he killed thousands of people, but man, he was just corrupted." And when Sin literally does the thing that he does in PoE1, you know, the push, I
Mhm.
didn't even
Yeah,
put
with
two
the
and two
smoke.
together. Right, dude? Oh, I should have known
I
that.
mean,
Like I
I
knew
was
it was
pretty
Sin.
sure. I was like, "Oh, he has bright blue eyes, and he's all in black, and he's got smoke powers." The trailer, the cinematic trailer is when I was like, "Oh, okay, okay. Okay."
Right. It was very obvious. It was just like, man, are they gonna do a rug pull something? No, they went with the basic one. And finally, Noodle, they're actually addressing the whole Dark Ember thing from Path of Exile 1. You know,
Mhm.
you do literally acts 6 through 10. You're making the Dark Ember to make another seed to use it against Kitava. and then you fight Katava, and you don't see the seed, you don't see the ember, you don't hear about it. It's because Sin tucked it under his robe and has been carrying it for the past 20
Yeah,
years.
he was literally like, okay, I'm out. Like,
right?
see you later.
Oh, that was their plan all along. Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Act 2, Noodle, you said was your favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Why is Act 2 all about the Ardura and the Fetter Dune and the Vestiri Desert and something with a water goddess? Why is that your favorite act? What's going on?
Okay. For one, it's got so many connections to the past lore. I also really enjoy when something I've predicted a long time ago comes true. Like when they removed Nanette from Heist, they removed her specific contracts. They had been shown like they were data mined, and it was the Book of Jaman-Ra and like all this stuff about the Faradun. And I was like, that's so weird. Why would they remove one person's contract? Maybe this will show up in PoE2 where we're going to see the Marikath. I just think there's so many cool connections. I'm gonna get ahead of myself, but the whole Orbala Garrikun revelation, I literally was like, "What the fuck?" Like, Zarka, I love her. She's basically just me, but old in the game, and I could sit there and watch her text for hours. Like, it's so interesting, so many good connections, but basically it was like, have you ever read a heist contract item? Here's some payoff. Pew, pew, pew,
Yeah,
pew.
yep, yep.
Like, goddess of water or Bala. Oh man. Seeing Keth was cool, even though it was pretty long.
Yeah. It was long. Lots of
um,
Beatles, okay? Lots of
mhm.
Beatles.
The Beatles were not my favorite, to be fair. But and the Valley of the Titan, like, that is crazy. I didn't really get into Crucible for lore stuff, but I know, like, the Titan
Yeah.
Z Titans. I don't know if
Titans,
there's more than one.
it's supposedly plural. Valley of the Titans. So, maybe?
Yeah, it does say Titans.
And there's a lot of bodies in there. Big bodies.
Yeah, big boys.
So,
Lots of big boys in that
mhm.
valley. That's
Yeah.
true.
And that
Which
guy at
is
the bottom, he was
so
pretty big too. So,
yeah. I mean, it's so cool to run through. Like, just
right.
visually running through, especially the Titan Grotto, just like all of the very dramatic statues or people or I don't know exactly what happened. Oh, the clay shaper, there's like the Achilles sarcophagus. Ugh, jeez. There's so much. It's stacked. It's absolutely stacked. I love the Faradun. I love Asala. She's a
Oh,
badass.
she is. Oh,
Everything's so cool. I love that you can show, Asala and Zarka the letter that Shambrin asks you to find, and they're like,
hmm.
"What are you doing, you stupid dum-dum? Like, don't show me this. People get killed for less." I'm like,
Yeah.
"That's just good." Everything about it is good. I like that it's somewhat linear, but you get a little bit of choice of where to go in the order that you're gonna do it in, gameplay wise. But just all of the connections. Like there was so much setup for things that get paid off, and I think that that might be less interesting for people who don't read the lore. They're probably like,
Mhm.
"This old lady talking so long, and I don't care." But I loved it. I loved it.
Ate it up. Yeah, I loved all of Zarka's dialogue, and I think Asala might be my favorite from Act 2 because I some people were pissed off that she took Jamanra from us, the kill, but I was like, "Oh, yes, this is so deserved. Just go in."
Yeah,
Oh,
and then they're talking about how that she did that to give him an honorable death, right? So that he could be put among their honored dead in Dashar. I got chills. I was like, "Oh, that's crazy. This
look at
is
that.
super progressive Sekima."
Yeah, there you go.
You know, cool. I'm down with it. And bringing together the Faradun and everything and
It
man.
was good. It was really good.
Mhm.
I feel like they cooked that act for quite a while and have been
Mhm.
building on it for quite some time. I think around the time they were writing Heist, they were probably doing that in PoE2
Oh,
concurrently, right?
100%.
Yeah, and they're like,
100%.
We know what we're doing. We're dropping breadcrumbs for Noodle to find in 5 years' time. That's what we're doing, okay?"
And I was there like, what is this? What's all this stuff about the Marikath? And it truly
Hmm.
it paid off. It feels fully baked. It's iced. It's decorated. They've cut it up into nice serving sizes. Like I think Act 2 is both gameplay and story-wise just so good.
I think the environments of Act 2 are my favorite too. I love the
Mhm.
deserts, the red deserts especially. I think those are just pristine.
Mhm.
They're very good. And then the Trial of the Sekima. We don't have to talk about the gameplay systems necessarily, but Bala Bala, I think it's Bal Bala. Bal Bala, right?
Balbala.
Bal Bala,
Balbala,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so she's the Izaro replacement, Noodle. You don't have to say you love it because it's PoE2. Do you think Bal Bala? Izaro.
Oh, Izaro, Izaro.
Yeah,
Not
I
even
mean
cl not
anybody.
even cl I I will say, one thing I don't like about Act 2 is their Wayfarer stones making some mockery of Izaro's lines. What is that? I I'm sure some people are like, "Oh, haha." I was like, "This doesn't make sense. Why are the Wayfarer stones?"
It's got to be intentional. They're crapping on Izaro and the Eternals, right? I mean, the
Yeah,
traitor, right? That's what it is, right? It's like it's literal mockery. Like I don't,
it's
yeah,
mockery.
they're going
They're
in.
making fun of my boy.
Yeah. We need to find that place. We need Izaro back in the game because
Mhm.
compared to Balbala, like some of my friends were actually making fun of Balbala's lines in the Trial of the Sekima. They're like,
Oh,
"What's she gonna
yeah.
say? Some dumb thing about me failing? Is she gonna warn me about the boss, or is she gonna just make a joke about the boss?" And usually it's not anything helpful. I'm like, "Oh, you are missing out. You've never
You don't
played
know.
PoE1. Oh,
When you get a golden key, there's not a golden door. I can't live like this.
they need a line now. They need a line where there's a golden key. There are 20 golden chests. Okay, you
Yeah.
choose one, right?
Oh. Well, you get to choose one unless the one time the server crashes, you are currently ascending in the final room, having opened up a golden chest and at about to pick your ascendancy, it disconnects. Did you know if you're in the middle of it, it saves your progress?
I did
But
know that.
not if you're at the end.
Ugh. Noodle, did you
Uh,
just say that you picked up the chest first before ascending?
oh, yeah,
Rookie.
I did. I opened the
Rookie.
chest and then realized my oh, no, it's worse. I opened the chest, realized my mistake, went to the ascendancy, and then crashed. So I got neither.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and then I had to do it all again, and then when I went to go open a chest, it said, "You cannot get multiple rewards for the same level of your trial." So I couldn't get
Oh,
anything from any of the chests of the keys that I got for the second time.
no.
It was brutal. I'm not a fan of
That's rough.
either of the trials.
You aren't. Okay, let's
No.
do a little gameplay. So let's talk
Mhm.
about Sakuma first. Trial of the Sakuma. I think it's a very funny joke with the Sakuma stuff. It's
It
very
is, that
good.
is
Very good.
funny.
I like the meme. Okay, so do you not like the honor system? Is it the afflictions, the boons? What's going on? What do you not like about it?
Honestly, it's not too bad. It
Okay.
takes too long. It's a little too RNG because, like, my first run was extremely lucky, didn't get a lot of, bad afflictions, and got multiple keys. Second run, extremely unlucky. The whole place was filled with, serpent shamans. So I was getting, like, corrupted blood hits from God knows where. Um, and I think I've only done the first and second ascendancies for both characters.
Okay.
And I really don't like the gauntlet rooms. If it had everything except for the
Yeah.
gauntlet rooms, I think I'd be
Yeah.
okay, but I just really don't like the gauntlet rooms at all. Like the traps are fine, but it takes so long.
Yeah, it's a completely different gameplay style when you're doing those gauntlet rooms. You have to literally tell your brain, I am no longer playing Path of Exile 2. I
Mhm.
am playing it. I need to slow down. I need to chill,
Yeah.
or I'm going to screw myself. It is a
Mhm.
completely different game. I had a run with 0 gauntlets in it. Yes, to floor 3. Oh, lucky.
Wow.
I know. I
Wow.
know. It's wild. So you haven't fought the third boss and you haven't seen what floor 4 is?
Correct.
Okay. Won't talk about it. You will like fourth floor, I believe. I've
Okay.
just been in the first room
Uh-huh.
but the environment changes drastically. I'll just give you that little hint. It's very interesting.
Ooh.
Yeah, there's some lore. There's some lore, Noodle. So it should be good. I know. Yep. Maybe you'll
For
hate it.
me?
Maybe you'll like it. We'll see. Whether or not you like it will be determined by how you enjoy the plot of Act 3 of PoE2, which we'll get to in just a moment after
Mhm.
talking about the Trial of Chaos as well, gameplay wise.
Mhm.
Not a fan of what? I presume I know why you don't like it, but give it to me.
I think it again, it's just completely there's too much RNG.
Yeah.
Sometimes the choices like the first time I did
Yep.
the Trial of Chaos, I picked the physical damage circle because I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be like the storm runes."
Me too.
What the hell? What is wrong with them? They're like, "Oh, yeah, no, it's a physical damage circle, but it's the whole map now." Or
Dude.
I picked the shade that stalks you because that's really easy, right? But then I had to fight the, uh it's like the same boss as the Chimeral Wetlands or whatever.
Chimera. Yep.
Yeah, just chasing him around while the shade is chasing me around, and I can't get a hit in because the shade is, like, teleporting to me instead of chasing me around.
We had the first run exactly the same.
Oh my
Literally,
god.
I chose the expanding rune, and I was like, "Gotta be kidding me!" And then I got to the final room, and I was like, "Oh, the shade's easy in PoE1.
Yeah,
I'm
so
doing the
easy.
shade." No, no,
It's too fast, and the fact that it teleports literally ruins the whole thing. Doing an escort mission with the shade
you
is
can't.
diabolical.
You can't.
That should not have been nobody
No,
should have okayed that.
no. Or you have to be able to affect the shade. It can't just be the invulnerable shade from PoE1. Maybe if you could stun it or freeze it or something, do something to it.
I think
But
it could
since
just not teleport, and it would be better.
oh, it
Like, if you could get
teleports.
away from it yeah, yeah, if you get too far away from it too fast, which is, like, the one advantage of being a ranger, it just teleports back to you. It's like, "Oh, okay, well, like,
That's surprising. I didn't get far enough away from it to experience
it's so
that.
stupid.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
I honestly, I don't really like Ultimatum that much anyway
Okay.
because I don't know.
The trial master gives you the, he's too
Oh, I
weird,
love the
right?
Trial
I
Master.
know.
I wish that I liked Ultimatum so that I could get more Trial Master
Right?
dialogue. I don't know, it's too much visual clutter for me most of the time,
Mhm.
and, like, usually when I've been playing recently, like, I'm just trying to, I don't follow build as
Me too.
much.
Yeah.
I like to try to make my own thing, but I also, like, work so much now that it's I just feel like I've lost touch with sometimes the meta,
Right.
but it's just generally hard and it's very punishing, and, if I had to pick, I think I like the Trial of the Sekimas better, but I like Lab a lot more, and I don't like Lab.
See, that's the sentiment I'm hearing from many people. Bring
Yeah.
Izaro and Lab back, which will probably never happen,
Mm-mm.
but that it I'm not sure how many changes they're going to make to these systems. I've been saying it a lot, Noodle. It's going to be a very interesting 2025 because they
Mhm.
wanted feedback, they wanted a lot of it, and oh my goodness, are they getting a lot of it for Ascension especially. And I know
Mhm.
you just got to Endgame and then you re-rolled to your Ranger, but I've been in Endgame for about like 10 hours, 15 hours on my Monk. I'm not the I illuminated eyes. Lots of changes I think needs to happen with Endgame as well. Because as someone, you've been working a lot more,
Yeah.
you have less time, but you still want to try your own builds. Yeah, I don't see how people who do that will ever get to experience all the cool stuff that it has to offer,
No, and that's
unfortunately.
why my ranger, like
Yeah.
because I wasn't looking at people, like, if I had looked at what other people were doing, I would have apparently had a broken build, although I was doing Gas Arrow Flame Wall before that got nerfed,
Yeah.
because I just love Flame Wall. I'm like, if any excuse to use Flame Wall, I'll do that, but, like, it just feels extremely punishing, and especially sorry to get away from lore more, but I
Fine.
the death removes all portals to map is one of the worst decisions I think they've ever made. I do not understand, and I think potentially it's to artificially inflate how long you spend in endgame because they knew that people wouldn't necessarily want to replay the campaign over and over, so they pivoted to endgame, right? Because that's where most PoE1 players spend their time.
Hmm.
But I think because they pivoted, it wasn't done,
Yep.
and I hope that this is a decision to artificially inflate how long Endgame takes people? Because otherwise, what are they doing? Why would you do that? You finally get to a pinnacle boss and you go in blind and you get one chance?
It's
That's
rough.
so crazy.
Even on a map boss, Noodle. Like
Yeah.
that was the one thing I was really fearful about when I heard
Mhm.
that in the initial presentation. I was like, oh God, this is gonna feel really bad for a bad player like myself. Totally does. I actually didn't
Mhm.
realize you lose the boss too on these maps because you find bosses 1 in 4
Oh.
maps on average, and bosses are special encounters. So if you die in the map,
Oh.
you don't reset the map entirely. You also lose the boss encounter. So it turns into a regular map. And I was like, when I first realized that, I didn't know it was a thing.
Oh.
So I was running around looking for the boss the first time it happened, and I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
chat, where's the boss? And they're like,
No.
boss is gone, dude.
He left, bro.
Yeah, he's gone. So especially Pinnacles.
Yeah.
I talked to DM 2 days ago, Darth Microtransaction, and he said he's played Endgame for 150 hours, and he just now found one of the Pinnacle bosses.
I saw him
I'm
tweet about that.
Yeah,
That's
I'm never gonna.
awful.
It's not gonna happen
Oh,
because
it's never gonna happen for me.
here's my
God forbid if
playtime
there's
on
lore there.
PoE2. Like right now, here's my playtime on PoE2 and at launch, and this is my
Uh-huh.
PoE2 playtime. You know, the farther I get into the away from launch and the new year and stuff, and I still want to experience that sort of stuff. And I thought with
Mhm.
the way they went with PoE1 and the lessons they learned there, with like deterministic on the core boss systems, and you will
Mhm.
always fight the Eater of Worlds and Searing Exarch at the lowest level, and then the higher levels, that's something you aspire to, and other
Mhm.
random bosses
Mhm.
you aspire to those.
Yeah, yeah.
So I like that. I hope they implement that in PoE1. I hope it's
Absolutely.
I hope it is something that is temporary, like you said, because experiencing it now myself, I have so much feedback for Endgame, and I think Acts 1 through 3
Mhm.
are excellent. Best time in the game so
Yeah.
far, hands down.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely. They're so fun, and it feels
mhm.
really like every time you get an upgrade, it feels meaningful. Uh,
Speak
I
them to
mean,
me.
vendors have good stuff, so you actually look for the vendors because God forbid you can't craft anything yourself. But, you know, but still, there is good stuff and there's good meaningful and just everything about it is so much fun to play. And then I got to
Yeah.
maps and I was kind of like, "Ooh,
See,
I if I am gonna lose all the progress, I did 6 maps, I think I completed 5 of them, but I was like, "This is taking too long, and I'm
mhm,
getting really close to dying multiple times." And
right,
that's I have to progress if I'm gonna get to the lore, so I stole your
100%.
broken build.
There you go. Yeah, I lucked out too. So I
Mhm.
lucked into the best class in the game, the monk, and then invoker. So you'll have a better time at endgame because he's pretty strong. He's
Yeah.
he's good.
Oh,
So
yeah, I'm killing bosses before they can do anything.
so
It's
I gotta play
silly.
a ranger noodle. I gotta try my own build on a ranger and see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because then I'll get
You
all
should
the
do it.
boss dialogue. That's cool,
Yeah,
right?
no, for sure. I definitely have the full poem recorded. I can send it to you.
Okay, good. Good. Okay, so Act 2 obviously ends with Jumanra dying,
Mhm,
Sekamat Sala helping us out there, and the Hooded One reveals himself to be Sin. Okay, it
mhm.
obviously was confirmed to me when I'm playing through, and it says, "Oh, you just killed Jumanra. You're at the Shrine of Garrikon," and I'm like, "All
Mhm.
right, here we go." Was that beautiful? It almost felt like a. Have you played Baldur's Gate like 1 or 2 or even 3? I don't know
I've
why.
played 3.
You've played 3. Okay. I haven't played 3, but in Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, this is going to sound so weird. I'm so sorry, chat and Noodle. They're like romance scenes in 1 and 2. It's not,
Mhm.
explicit, but it's like, nice music begins to play and it's like really calming and everything. And you're like, oh, this is going to be a really emotional moment. As soon as I read like Shrine of Garukhan and it's like, go talk to the Hooded One and that music started playing,
Yeah.
I was like,
Ugh,
oh my God, I'm going to get one of these moments in Path of Exile 2. This is so good.
it's
What was your first
so
reaction to
good.
that whole entire scene?
Well, I had already figured out that he was Sin, it was
Right.
pretty clear, and also then realizing that we're following Orbala's path to basically becoming Garuken, right?
Hmm.
Which is really, really cool. But, like, their relationship, it always felt a little silly in PoE1, just in the fact that he's like, "Gosh, I really loved her. Gotta kill her though." had to create the beast to stop my wife and my daughter from fighting each other and breaking humanity. But yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful shrine. It's his dialogue is really interesting to hear him talk about like divine love versus mortal love and like how she lost herself because she became the
Yeah.
god that people saw her as. And it was just really, it was interesting in the story. It was also interesting in the implications of like divinity and how that works. Like him talking about when perception becomes reality. And then I was kind of thinking about the King and the Mists and the Nameless and how that works and like the parallels of the Viridian Wildwood and divinity. And I was like, man, I was so, it was like a dense nugget of, ah, it's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
I love Act Two,
Yeah.
but we
Yeah.
should
I thought
probably
it was a
talk about
beautiful
Act
ending.
Three.
What? Say again?
I said we should probably talk about Act Three.
Okay, we should. I know. I know. If we can go a tad, are you okay with going a tad longer
Oh,
than an
yeah.
hour? You're
That's
okay.
when you
Cool.
were like an
Here,
hour, I was like,
I was, I was an
I'll
idiot.
try my
No,
best.
no, I totally wasn't
I can't
thinking.
even make one video in an hour.
We can go longer. Okay, so Act Two ends. We go into Act Three. From the initial early access trailer, we all know who's awaiting us in Act Three. I mean, when I first saw the
Mhm.
snippet and I saw the gloves, I was like,
I
"Yo,
know.
I know who that is." Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So, Act 3, do we just skip straight to him, you think? Anything
I think
interesting
so.
leading up?
Uh, not really. I don't I guess anything
I would
interesting.
okay, here, I'll say this.
Okay.
Maybe you agree, maybe you don't agree. Alva? I don't know about Alva in Act 3. I feel like she was almost maybe not too jokey. Maybe that. Too lighthearted. I think they were trying to insert a little bit of that into the story and then have the explorer guy be her kind of counterpart, you know?
Mhm.
But I don't know. Elva didn't have the charm for me as she does in
Well,
PoE
it's
1.
because she's still a baby. She's the youngest we've ever met her.
Okay.
This is the
Okay.
Reliquarians. She's founding the
Okay.
Reliquarians that she tells us about in PoE 1.
Okay. Okay. So can you explain this to me,
Uh-huh.
Kitten? I don't
Yeah.
Doryani fight. I'm just an idiot, okay? Because I'm
Hmm.
trying to piece together what the hell he's telling us. And he's talking to Elva, and he's talking about the demon of Atzawaddle, and I'm like, is he talking about us? And then he's talking
Mhm.
about the end of the world, and I'm like, is he like, does he know it's coming? Like, can you walk through us idiots about this, Noodle? Because I'm sure you know
Okay.
like the breakdown of what's happening during this fight with Doryani.
Yes. So, leading up to this fight, you are seeing the Agarat in Utsal, which Utsal is Doryani's
Like the
like
pinnacle.
realm,
Like it
basically.
was never.
Atziri's capital was Sarn,
Yep.
uh, but Doryani's stuff is in Utsal,
And it was
in the
never
Agarat.
breached, right? Like it's like
Mm-mm.
impenetrable fortress something, right?
Yeah, because it was covered in water. I mean, that's why the Calgar were like, "Oh, we can't raid this place. It's got
Yeah.
too much traps, too much water." So he definitely planned for that to get flooded to prevent people from seeing what he was doing.
Okay.
So Doryani has been working for Adziri to
Yep.
try to bring immortality, right? Her plan, apparently, we it was sort of implied in Path of Exile 1 that Doryani communed with the beast. We learned that Adziri is going to commune with the beast.
Yeah.
And what Doryani is doing, while everyone in the town is basically rejoicing that they're going to become immortal, uh, and or get killed so that other people can be immortal. Rejoice. Um, Doryani is planning for what happens if Adziri goes through with it because somehow he has been warned. He has been warned that Adziri communing with the beast will lead to the end of the world. He has well, I gotta look up his name. What's his face? Ketsuli,
Okay.
the architect of time,
Yep.
literally trying to create more time for them. And they created the portal, the gateway, right? That
Yep.
goes backwards and forwards in time for this. That's part of what Doryani's doing. His whole thing in Utsal is a contingency plan. He's trying to prevent Adziri's communion because he has been warned by his patron
Who is this
that this is
patron?
going to happen.
Jesus.
Don't know, but it might be Xana.
You think? Okay.
Mhm.
Mm.
I do think. I do
Mm.
think
Oh.
because it's somebody who has knowledge of the Atlas. It's somebody who has knowledge of Alva. It's somebody who has knowledge of us.
I gotta cover my face. I'm sorry. Um,
Okay, so
okay, so
Doryani is creating the gateway
yep.
to stop this happening. He has been warned by someone who knows about Alva and knows about us, the demon of Atzawaddle.
We're the demon of Atzawaddle?
We are the demon of Atzawaddle.
Why are we the demon of Atzawaddle? Wouldn't that be Elva? Because does he know about
Alva,
her
this
raiding
Alva
the
hasn't
temple?
gone back yet.
Wait, Elva has okay, so Elva okay. People are arguing about this in the chat.
Uh-huh.
Elva in PoE2 is young Elva, and Elva in PoE1 is older Elva, who is
Mhm.
okay. So post creating her little society, post raiding the Temple of Atzawaddle, or like
Mhm.
in transit of raiding the Temple of Atzawaddle,
And yeah.
and PoE2 Zana is past Elva, so no Temple of Atzawaddle or anything like that.
Yeah, she has not been to the Temple of Atzawaddle.
Why
That's
are
how
we
she
the
learns that
demon?
we witness her using her blood magic.
Right.
What was your question?
Why are we the demon of Atzawaddle? Why is he calling us that?
Because I think that either we will go there or he's talking to the player.
Okay, right. That's what confused me because I'm like, are we like the exile from Is he referencing the exile from PoE1? Is he talking about
I don't
Elva? He
know.
can't be if it's young Elva. That was
Yeah,
one
and
thing that
also
was
he's
throwing me
not
off.
facing Alva when he says that. He's facing us. He's like, finally, the demon of Atzawaddle. Like,
Me. What is going on?
yeah.
I feel like okay. Okay, no, keep the rundown. I had to ask that question to make sure I wasn't
Mhm.
crazy. But there's no Atzawaddle in this story. That's the only time
No.
it's really mentioned. And I was like,
Mhm.
Doryani, dude, what are you talking about, man?
And Alva hasn't been there yet because she doesn't go there until PoE1, which
Okay.
is in the past future.
Okay.
In her future, in the past.
Okay.
Um, so he's trying to prevent this event from happening. I'm sure in a way he was warned that whoever is quote unquote the demon of Atzawaddle or whoever is doing this time travel stuff is the one that is going to come and like bring this about, the downfall
Interesting.
or stop him from being able to stop at Siri. I'm not super sure because it is really inevitable, right? Like what
Yeah.
he's doing is contingency. He's not actively stopping at Siri. He's just trying to buy more time, whatever that means. But yeah, his whole fight against us is because he was warned that if we came, that is a sign that it is the end time
So
and it's
interesting,
too late.
Noodle. That's so interesting. And if it is
Mhm.
Zana, I wonder, okay, is she perhaps warning him about the exile of PoE1? No, that doesn't make sense. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think why the
I know.
Atzawaddle thing is playing into here. I feel like it has to do somehow with PoE1, and I don't know. The story obviously is very unfinished. We have half of it
Mhm.
unfinished, and we've heard from the devs that Act 6 especially is crazy, and it's just a roller coaster beginning to end, like just no stops. It's just going wild. I don't know what that's going to be because obviously it ends right now with us
Mhm.
going into the end game and the cataclysm happening, right?
Yeah.
Atziri communes with him. Doryani fails, but Doryani survives, and we're
Mhm.
dealing with the aftermath. And the aftermath is in the past, 2,000, three
Mhm.
thousand years in the past, right after Atziri communes. Do you think that that's also how the story is going to end in Act 6, where we go to the past? Or do you think they're going to completely revamp the end game and it will be a new story? Or is it inevitable that
Oh.
we end Act 6 with the cataclysm? And like, I'm trying to piece together if this is a temporary story beat or if they spoiled the end of the story for us. What do you think about that?
That's a really good question. I can't really imagine that we don't go into the past for the end game. Like that just seems I guess I'm not far enough in the end game to be completely sure, but like I did see Gwen in Expedition and she was like, "Oh, you. Oh, right. You don't know me yet. Like let's just pretend like we don't know each other." Um so she's in the past.
Yeah.
I guess they could have just decided to add that for, whatever they're doing, but it does make sense to have if the end game is on Rayclast instead of in the Atlas, like we're traveling to different corrupted areas of Rayclast, not like the pocket realm of the Atlas, it makes sense for us to go in the past to
Us.
an extent. But there's no way that it's the same situation. Like,
Right. And then it kind of blocks them off from expanding on all those good stories from PoE1 and then always doing this,
yeah.
oh yeah,
Hmm.
you don't know me. Okay. All the expedition people do something like that. And it
Mhm.
makes me think that this is temporary, that the Cataclysm event
Mm.
happening is and us blasting to the past for Endgame is temporary, and that the new Endgame will be in the present, and something akin to this Cataclysm is going to happen. I'm almost
Oh.
confident, Noodle.
Yeah,
And this
okay.
is no
No, I
spoilers
could
from
see that
anything.
because, like,
Third
if
Cataclysm.
you
It's done.
third cataclysm.
I
I mean,
think
that is
so.
what's supposed to be happening, right? That's basically what
Yep.
is going to lead up. You see how big the beast is getting in just the few bits that we've seen him. Like, he goes from being a little tiny cage beast to like giant man beast thing. I don't know. But yeah, actually at the end of Act 3 normal, if you go back to the Ziggurat encampment of the future,
It's tough.
Doryani's there, and you can
Yes.
talk to him, and I'm pretty sure that's the canon what's supposed to happen, is that Doryani gets brought to the future. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, we don't there's no way we were going to the past. That doesn't make any sense.
Right. I don't think they'd do that. But it's a hell of a lot of work to
It's a
do all
hell
this
of a lot
stuff
of work to put so
for the
much dialogue in.
right. So it's like, really? Are you guys
Or like
trying to
the
double cross us? What's going on? I mean, they do put a lot of dialogue in sometimes for like a 1 year endgame cycle and then remove it,
mhm.
rip all that awesome dialogue that I missed about Shaper and Zana and the Elder. Oh,
Mhm.
I listened to all that on Oriath.net and everything just so I could experience it. So maybe that's what they're pulling. But you're so right because Doryani in okay, what kind of weird move is that? I'm so Dorian Doriani's in the present. What? Like, holy
I'm just
crap.
still so shocked that they're showing him. Like, I thought about just making a compilation of every video in which I guessed that it was Doryani and was scorned by it not being Doryani. Like, I think I could make probably a 5-minute compilation of just me speculating that maybe this means Doryani is gonna show up in PoE1 and it never happened.
Yeah.
Even with the Trial of the Ancestors, I was like, they're saying Doryani's missing, but I'm not gonna fall for that again.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Please. I was just gonna ask you about Hinakora's
Yeah.
dialogue and Doriani.
Mhm.
Is that the only reference? Hinakora says Doriani. Doriani's missing, right? Randomly in one of her little spiels. Is that the only
Mhm.
reference to him explicitly?
She
Right?
says it twice, but yes, yeah,
Okay, so is he missing from where? The past? Because
from
we
the past.
flopped him up and put what the? We need the whole story. I don't. My goodness.
Yeah.
Matt has been cooking for 6 years. He's just been like, all right, you're delaying because of this WASD stuff. All right, we're just gonna go all in on this final part of we're putting in Doriani. Noodle's guessing
Mhm.
Zana. Zana is the one, the patron. Oh,
That's what I'm thinking. I just don't know who else would have
that knowledge.
the the knowledge of Alva, of the player's relationship with Alva, of all this other stuff, but the thing is also that if it's not really in the past, then maybe that is just added dialogue too.
Maybe, maybe. It's
But then
very
how is
possible.
are they gonna just take out the Atalui and Kedzuli, like the 2 architects that are there?
Maybe.
They have so much dialogue.
You know what, Noodle? I actually haven't listened to their dialogue. Is it good? I haven't.
Yeah.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah, you should listen
Ah,
to it. It's pretty important.
no. Okay, okay, okay. After this, I will listen to their dialogue.
Especially
Okay.
the Blood
Sorry.
Priestess. She has a lot of stuff to say about
Do,
every single civilization basically on
do,
Rayclast.
oh, really? I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Oh, that's
Yeah.
exciting. Okay, I'll
Yeah,
definitely have
that's
to
good
check it out.
stuff.
Noodle, do you think that this guy has anything to do with the PoE2 story in the slightest? Is there a chance that Valdo somehow makes it back? Probably not.
No, but it could be a hint that Santa's in it.
Okay, okay. Well, what if he's somehow in the past too, and we drag him from the past to the present before he dies. I don't know. I don't
It could
like
be.
timeline stuff because my mind is
No.
too small, and It sounds like the one that they've gone with for PoE2 or for Rayclast.
Mhm.
For now, obviously there was some stuff going on with the last one to die and everything, but it sounds like that was multiverse. See,
You mean
small brain.
Alva?
Alva. Yes, it was. Yes, it was Alva. Right, last to die, Alva. Yep. Is it everything that has happened in the present? Like you can't change the past, right? Is that what they're going for? Like the past has
Mhm.
already been written, even if
Mm.
you're time traveling. Everything that's already happened in the future has happened because someone time traveled into the past and already done that. Is that the one they're going with? Because I know there's a lot of different time travel theories
That's
out there.
certainly how Alva seems to view it, at
Right.
least youngest Alva. She's like,
Yeah.
"Well, you can't stop us because it already happened."
Okay.
Um,
That's the
but
best one, I feel like, because then otherwise there's constant butterfly effects, I feel like.
yeah, absolutely. Although I
So,
wouldn't really put it past them to sort of challenge Alva's opinion on the time travel. I think in general, time travel should be reduced to a silly mechanic and not part of your story because you're gonna have some serious problems. I mean, I'm fine with Alva doing it. I don't think that we should do it.
yeah. No.
In
No.
fact, yeah,
It's crazy. I
don't do
wonder if
time
we're gonna do
travel,
any
kids.
more, or if it was just the Act 3 stuff, and then we're staying in the present for 4, 5, 6.
I think it
Or
probably is.
what if? Okay, you crackpot theory. Let's throw it out, Noodle. Act
Mhm.
6. You know how Fall of Oriath was like retreading all of Acts 1 through 4 of PoE1, right? Act
Mhm.
6, we just go zone to zone, time traveling through all the most iconic parts of Rayclast history, or maybe the past acts, and all this lore that they've been building up on all these places and characters like Count Geonor and all this stuff. We're just gonna
Mm.
go through the most iconic moments for some reason to collect all this shit to stop the beast, who's gonna be full power, destroying everything across Rayclast, and we got to do some major time travel.
You want a time travel montage?
I
That's your
feel
act
like
6 pitch?
maybe it's a time travel montage. I feel like they're gonna double dip into the time travel
Mhm.
if they've done it once. I feel like it's gonna happen again. It might
They
bite
might
them
do
though.
that.
I I think the multiverse for one league was good, and it didn't
Mhm.
really like. Sure, it's in the broader PoE lore now, but it's not something you can go in game and find, right? I feel like time
Yeah,
travel
yeah.
is the same way, like Alva did in Incursion, right?
I can dig
So
it. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Okay.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Oh, you do? Oh shoot, crap.
So, uh, Orianna, the Countess, they mention, when she's in Esamir, they're like, "Oh, she's from the Vastiri Plains." But when you're in the Vastiri Plains, they say she came to us from the south. Where do you think Orianna's from? Or do you know something? You have a look like you know something.
I know where she's from. I
Oh,
can't answer it.
no.
I
You said
can't
there were
answer it
spoilers. Don't
without
tell me then.
lying.
Don't tell me then.
I don't
I
want to
can tell from your
lie.
face.
I know.
You have
It's
a
the
face
Noodle.
so easy to
Oh,
read.
okay. I get the lore book. I get the art book. I'm calling it a lore book.
Mhm,
I get the art book. I open it up to the
mhm,
table of contents, and it's
mhm.
like acts 1 through 5, and it names each of them. And I'm like, oh,
Oh, immediately just, like, spoilers.
oh.
Yeah, because I only know about a little of Act 4 because I played it at ExileCon,
Right. It's
and
because it's
that's
the
they
early
haven't really mentioned it
archipelago.
since. I don't
Right.
have any footage or any proof or anything,
Oh, oh.
but
And man, they spoiled Act 5 right there. I couldn't hold back.
yikes.
I had to look.
You were like, "Oh, no."
Yeah.
Anyway.
I I held it in for about half an hour, Noodle, and
Mhm.
then I opened it back up and was like,
Did you
all
just,
right, we're
like,
going
run
in.
downstairs with the book like,
And
"Everybody look."
they have lore in there, they have character art, and that's all I'll
That's
say.
so
I don't want to
tempting.
spoil anything.
But yeah,
But
I don't
okay,
know
I
if
will
I
say this too.
should. Okay.
Act 6, not in there. Which
Not in there.
feeds into the what the hell is Act 6?
What is it?
Okay?
Yeah.
Because if they're willing to lay it all out, right?
Mhm. Yeah, all the
Literally
rest of
everything.
it.
Right. And then they're like, but Act 6, we're not doing
That's a
that.
secret.
Right. That's a big secret. So I'm very excited for Act. I'm
Hmm.
excited for all the acts, but
Yeah.
Act 6 is very curious. Okay, now I want to ask you, where do you think Orianna is from?
Well, they say that she's from the south of the
Hmm,
Vastiri, which is basically everywhere. Um,
good. Good.
could be anywhere. I If I had to guess based on her accent, I'd say she's from Oriath. But I feel like it is a different place. I feel like it is a place that maybe we don't know as much about, that might have motivations that we don't know as much about. But I go back to her in the I don't remember if it was the first teaser trailer for gameplay of Path of Exile 2. It was one of the trailers where they have her basically looking at an image of innocence in like a room with a bunch of flowers and almost like a looks like a funeral. It's very interesting. And Innocence says he is going to the farthest south regions, which makes me think there's some connection between that south that Innocence is going to, which I don't think is Oriath, but I also don't know what it is, and where Orianna is from.
Very interesting. I did a great job, chat. Stop scolding me, okay? I held my face in. That's a very interesting theory, and that leads me to someone I'm very curious to think if you believe will appear. Innocence. Is he gonna appear? Come on, his brother's in the
He's
story. Is
got
Innocence
to.
gonna come back?
He's got to. We have to know what he was doing. Why would they just be like, "I'm gonna go south"? Like, that's such a weird thing to say. You could just be like, "I'm gonna go away," but he's specifically like, "I'm going to go to the southernmost region, to the south place where I'm going to be south, and I'm gonna go far away and think about things while I'm south." You know, like, it was just
Hmm.
very pointed
Right.
to for him to so specifically mention a region, and not to mention what it is, to give kind of the intrigue of like, okay, where is he going? What's he gonna do? And then, obviously Innocence has been laying low, but he wanted to work with, or sorry, Sin has been laying low, but he wanted to work with Innocence. He wanted them to come back together. Clearly that didn't happen. So Innocence has been doing something weird south.
I
Face.
would I would love if we got a remix of actually my brother-in-law got me this display today. It's the
S
Kitava final battle from PoE1 with Sin,
Oh,
Innocence, and then the Templar right here. I would
yeah.
love if the final battle of PoE2 ended up being us versus Sin and Innocence somehow. I don't know how it would happen,
Ooh.
but that would just be because I've always my brother-in-law he's played PoE1 through once and he's loving PoE2 right now. He's played for a long time. He's only on Cruel, but he's really loved it. He likes the story. He listened to all your videos on Noodle. Didn't listen to
Aw.
mine. He listened to yours. He loved them. He thought they were great. And he's like of the mind, I want to fight Sin. Where's Sin? Let's go. I want to fight him. So I think, man, in PoE2, if they could build up to that somehow,
Mhm.
maybe it's okay, so maybe the beast somehow corrupts him at the end, or somehow
Well,
he's
Sin's still in
attached to
denial
it.
about, like, his whole part in this. Like, he's
Right.
he's in act 3, he's sitting there like, "Oh, yeah, if you could find some proof that it was the beast that caused this cataclysm, like, that might make me feel better." And it's like, "Duh. Duh, dude, you've seen it happen twice.
Yeah.
Well, no, you didn't see it happen twice, you were asleep both times, but, like,
Sure.
it's pretty clear
Oh yeah.
that the beast is the cause of the cataclysm, and you're now chasing it to prevent a cataclysm, so, like, you know that."
Mm-hmm.
He has this
Mm-hmm.
weird denial of, "Well, it was supposed to be good." And we just have to keep it away from ambitious
He's so
men.
innocent. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like it's
And
your
women.
pet.
Orianna, okay. Now we've
That's
got
true,
Orianna in
yeah.
on this.
No, I wonder what her motivations are, because everyone that has been promised the beast has had specific motivations. Count Geonor wants to have power so that people can't question his lineage because he's afraid that everybody thinks that he's not really a pureblood Esmite, because he's not. Um, Jamonra or Jamonra, like the Faradun want everyone to be united. They want to be accepted by the Mariketh. Jamonra was supposed to do that for them so many years ago. So she says, okay, the beast can resurrect Jamonra and this will unite the Faradun and we'll take over the Mariketh. Well, I think initially it's supposed to be like that we'll all become together. And then, that kind of gets corrupted into fighting the Mariketh. Um, but like, what is her motivation to do it? Like,
This is a tough podcast to do reading that book.
and
Damn
also,
it.
what is Count Geonor digging for under? Because
Great
he says,
question.
"Keep digging." He's under there. He says he's under there.
That's a great question.
Who?
Why didn't we keep digging? What's
Yeah,
there?
I'll dig.
That's why, hey, Noodle, that's why I feel like there's going to be a remix in Act 6. We're going to go back to that place for some reason.
We're just
We're going
gonna
to go
dig.
start digging, start digging. Or somebody's going to have retraveled there because Orianna,
Mm.
she's obviously using these dudes for something. She used
Yeah.
Count Geonor for something. It was probably something she wanted that was
Yeah,
deep
she's
below
probably
the earth
telling him to
there.
dig
Yeah.
there.
So I'm really
Yeah.
curious to see what it is. Okay. Ooh. Somebody asked a great question, Noodle, and I'd
Okay.
love to hear your take on it. I really like it. Can't believe that I did not think of this. Jack and the Red God. At what point do you think the new beast gets strong enough to make Sin slumber? That's a great question. Do we know? Like, what is
Ooh.
the breaking point? Or is it just like story time? You know, this is because of the story. We're putting you to sleep, Sin. Could that happen? Maybe?
I think probably, yeah. I think that's
Hmm.
its whole thing is that it feeds off of divine powers. We know that that's not necessarily immediate. There's not like an on switch, off switch. They talk about Garuken took the longest. She was the last god to fall asleep, lasting for 2 weeks or 2 moons, or I forget how they phrase it,
Yeah.
after everyone else had fallen asleep, and dedicating everyone to stopping corruption in the Marikath, you know. Well, I guess that was actually after, but she was like trying to fight the corruption. And I don't know if there's a point. I mean, by the time we get to the beast, he is the mountain. Like he is basically the size of a mountain. He's bigger than the mountain. He's under the mountain. He's stretching past the mountain. I mean, he's huge, but we don't really know how long it took
Yeah.
or like when it starts to have effect.
Or
Like,
what he did. You know, we're seeing
yeah,
a beast from cradle to whatever the hell the beast is right now, and it
hmm
is bloody. Like they're feeding him people,
hmm
lots of people. You know that Faradun caravan. Holy crap! I mean, at least it's being pulled by dinosaurs and not prisoners
yeah.
of war, right? So props to the Faradun, right? Good job. But there are mounds of bodies that rival the Lunaris temple on that
Mhm.
caravan that I presume are just being thrown to the beast and everything.
Yeah, like coal or something just like
Yeah,
shoveled into the steam engine, basically.
right. So I always saw Innocent, and I think a lot of people probably
Mm.
see Innocence as like this terrible guy who's like, I have killed countless millions. I will go into exile. But what the hell does Sin do to get this beast up and running and the size of a mountain? Like, bro.
Yeah. That's why I've always he's like, "I'm trying to save humanity from the war of my wife and my daughter." But now that we're seeing how the beast became well, they might be trying to speed run. We don't really know if the beast would just grow on his own,
Mhm.
or what methods Sin used to get him to full power or whatever power level the beast eventually reached. Um, but, like, I think that Sin is kind of up his own ass a little bit and sort of just thinks he's really, really good. He's the good guy. He's so much better than all the other gods. And he's talking about Risu defecting and he's like, "Yeah, I know what it's like to just, have to go against your people. It's so hard." Oh,
Oh, such a rebel.
yeah.
Such a rebel, Sin. Great work,
He's just a
dude.
martyr.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sin.
Yeah, I would love if we end up taking out Sin at the end of the story and just having a big battle with the dude after PoE1 doing that big build up to him
Mhm.
sucking up all the power of the gods and then piecing out at the end of the story, which also now makes sense because he was hiding from everybody. And then
Mhm.
in PoE2, we're reunited with them. No way he makes it to Endgame. Bro, you're done.
Yeah, I don't think so either, and if I don't think the current endgame is what's going to be happening, but obviously the hooded one isn't there, and I would probably think that he might comment on the effects that the beast is having on him. I do not think it's going to put him to sleep. I don't know. I think it would be more interesting to sort of see the effects and then maybe have the the final battle with the beast or, whoever is trying to control it, probably Orianna in the beast or whatever's happening.
Yeah. The beast has to be a big battle, I presume, in the
Mhm.
story. Gosh, if it's there's no way they're just gonna throw it out. That model's been in use for so long. They've been doing so much evolution work on it. And Oh, the moment when Jamanra chops the caravan in two. Oh my
Yes.
god.
Oh my
And it's
god.
the
So
dichotomy
good.
between him and Gianor, where Gianor calls her like Orianna, like, "You whore, you leaving me?" And
Yeah.
Jamanra's like, "Get the hell out of here, sweetie." Like,
Yeah.
let's go. It's so good. I loved it. It was so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved it. Somebody just had a great call out. Absence of squirrel. Wait, if it eats divine power, that being the beast, and they have the
Mhm.
beast there when they dig in Act 1, maybe there's a god buried deep beneath the
Yeah.
earth in Ezomir. Hmm,
He's
interesting.
under there. It's
E.
got to be somebody that they want to get for the beast, either to feed it
Yeah.
or to control it or something. There's some
Who could he
entity.
be? You know, too bad Ezomir is in the far, far north, unfortunately, and not in the farthest regions of south, because then, you know, innocence could just be piecing out,
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
not
It's
innocence.
not innocence. Cross them off the list.
Maybe Hinekora put Kitava back in a different stone.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, I have
Ooh,
no idea, and especially because it's farther north,
right.
like, we don't really also, Sin talking about the first ones being like, "Children have imaginary friends." I was like,
Okay.
"Dude, don't say that too loudly. We're literally in Ezimir right now, man. Could you, like, shh, like, keep it down? It's
Noodle, where's
so
Agnar?
rude."
Where's
Well,
where's
there's the fight
Agnar?
with the Crowbell that says the trial of the Beastmaster or whatever,
Yeah,
but no Einar.
where's Agnar?
Wait, he should show up because he was at the first ExileCon.
He was. But why wouldn't he show up in Ezomir? I mean, okay, so he's an old man now, right? Maybe he's
But no,
moved on.
Einar is as old as the Viridian Wildwood.
True, he's like immortal, right? Right, we did
He's
learn that,
immortal.
and
He's
that's
definitely
true.
not a human being.
That's true. See, yeah, I'm missing your affliction lore video, Noodle. I know it's a
I
tough one.
know, I need to put it together. It
I'm
just,
sorry for
like,
bringing it
my
up.
brain exploded, and now when I
Wait.
saw that because we did Act 1. We did Act 1 in March, and then I was like, "Oh, they put the King in the Mist in Act 1. Good, great." Now I mean, I have to go back to it anyway. I just have to kind of throw away my desire to tell a coherent story and just kind of put out all the things that happen and say, "Doesn't really make sense, but don't worry about it."
It's
Just
so
just deal with it.
complicated. And in the lore book, there is a minor spoiler, not really a spoiler. The druid is a, what is it, Draenei? What's the word? Like the people of the Viridian Wildwood, what are they called again?
The Magi.
Not the no, not the Magi. It's like it starts with a D, like Draethir or something. I don't know. It's the
The
special.
Droct?
Is it Droct? Is that how you say it? I thought it was like
Drioct?
Dryoct.
Drioct?
Dryoct? I don't know.
I
Yeah,
listened to it so many times. Also, that was the other thing, having to record I'm bad at pronouncing things. This Affliction League was specifically made to torment me. It's like, let's be philosophical, let's have characters contradict each other, unclear timelines, and words like Drioct.
yes. See, it's tough. Yeah, that's the word. He's apparently also a member of the Wildwood in some way, which is cool, right? So there's the
Mm.
druid guy. I'm very excited for him. Come on, druids, come out, please. ASAP.
Mhm.
I really want to turn into a bear. I don't care about anything else. Let me be a bear.
I
It's
don't
gonna
even
be fun.
care about the lore. I just wanna be
It's
a bear.
I really want to be a bear. And hear his voice lines. He's got that
Yeah.
thick Scottish accent too. So it's gonna fill a
Yeah.
hole in my heart right now in Path of Exile because the Merc, he's like a Cockney dude, you know,
Mhm.
doing my typical Dungeons and Dragons random NPC accent, right? And he does it pretty well, so that's fine.
I wonder
Uh,
then, because that's like, Thane Jorgen, like,
mhm.
is sort of has
Yep.
a similar
Yep. Very
he's
possible.
from Isles of Scoth, though, so that's, like, Southern Ezimir, where all the Ezimite stuff in Ezimir happens, apparently.
Not gonna be more of it, Noodle. I'm sorry.
I
This was it.
know.
This was it. You know?
I know.
We got new
You think I
lore.
don't know that?
I know, I know. I really like the Rust Veil. I thought that was one of the
Mhm.
coolest thematic areas. Like
Mhm.
and they made it feel with the monster density in that place like it was a battleground. Like when you raise the dead, there's actually a crap load of dead people, and you're like, oh yeah, you know,
Yeah.
this feels like it was an ancient battlefield. That was good. I feel I know you don't like you weren't a fan of like the surface level of Act 1, and you're a big fan of Act 2. I think Act 1 was not the most polished, but it just made it's a very tight story. It's a very tight story.
Mhm.
It's a very tight experience. Like they have had probably tens of thousands of people just play Act 1 and like they were like, we're confident in this. We're good. This is a
Mhm.
good gameplay experience. And it's a very good beginner experience. But for people like us who are like, oh my God, we're finally going to this place, we're like, oh
Yeah.
well
Yeah,
shoot.
yeah.
This didn't develop on it. So yeah.
Exactly. I agree. Like I can appreciate what it does and what it's trying to do. It's just that to go to a place that I've been so
Yeah.
curious about for so long and then have it be like, well, it's not really like Esamir, you know? It's just a little
Little town in
disappointing.
Esamir. You know, we're
Oh,
going to just
like a little
Clearfell.
just
A little bit.
far north Esamir where we don't really do Esamite things. We have counts instead of thanes, and none of us are Scottish, and we're not wearing animal heads. Come on.
Hey, the clanless are. There you go. The people who mumble, you just spill nonsense at you. There you go. That's fine.
You mean the
Right?
cultists?
Yeah, the cultists. Yeah, those guys. Yeah.
Well,
They're
they're
wearing animal stuff everywhere.
yeah, but they're related to the affliction.
That's true. That's true. Now, what I am happy about is once PoE2 comes out, I think we'll get a lot more deep lore style leagues, and maybe this
Mhm.
is a future possibility that we'll be able to explore more of this place. Like we'll get a
Yeah.
King's March style league every time in PoE2 where it's not only a really big gameplay mechanic, but they are putting a lot of work into it, like Heist from Path of Exile 1,
Oh, yeah. I mean,
right?
that's
That's like the
so
gold
much lore.
standard for lore of leagues, right? Is there
Mhm.
That's a great question since I have you here as a captive.
Hmm.
Which is your favorite lore league? I don't think I've ever heard you say this. Like, is it Heist? Is it something that has a little bit smaller of a story? Or
Mm.
I don't think I've
That
ever
is
heard you
such a
answer.
good question.
Yeah, now I'm curious.
I think in retrospect, it's Heist. Like, during Heist, I really liked it. I really liked it, but it was a lot of information that didn't make a ton of sense, and then things started coming together, like,
Right.
especially with all of the replica stuff, like, I had to
Yes.
basically read all of that flavor text to be able to put it together, so it's still not really there, but I think and obviously now there's so many connections to Act 2 specifically, but also Act 1. Count Geonor gets heist contracts to try to prove his right to his fiefdom. Um, but in terms of, like, its own story, I've always had a soft spot for Harbinger, and I'm really bummed that they never followed up on it. I just think it's so crazy. We literally get aliens who come here and then I decoded I mean, I used the basis of other people's work, but I decoded, like, what they were talking about and, like, spent days being like, "Oh my god, they might be talking about the Elder," and they even said in a forum post they were gonna do Harbinger 2, and I don't think they're ever gonna do it.
No, Noodle. I think it's gonna happen. Isn't the Kirak memory in
Mhm.
Endgame? Isn't it a Kirak memory of Theriel, and it's the Harbinger thing? Like that's what I
Yes.
thought we were gonna get something to do with Heart, like a little hint. We didn't get that yet,
No, we
but
didn't, but
Harbinger
you're right,
2.0.
he's talking about Farrell.
Yeah, we're there. So like I almost feel like that might
There's
be
hope.
ground zero. Right, there's hope. I always was trying to put that two and two together like okay, we're going to Azamir, Farrell, we're right there. And he had this huge battle with these guys for the first time in Farrell.
Mhm.
Maybe there's a connection. I think they will do Harbin if they've said that. I think they'll follow through. It's just a matter of how long. Just like how
But
they're
it was
doing,
years
Expedition
ago.
years, could be years. We'll see. If you're not playing PoE anymore, Noodle, we'll make sure to send you a message on Twitter and be like, hey, Harbinger 2.0, you got to come back. You
Oh
got to
my
make
god.
all the videos.
Come out of retirement.
Yes. In, 15 years, right?
Yeah.
When they're getting those last few leagues out for PoE2, working on PoE3, Harbinger 2.0. So
Okay,
I
deal.
had one more question from somebody here that I need to ask you as well. Sin
Okay.
and Innocence's father being the Searing Exarch. This is something that is dear to my heart only for two reasons. One, you obviously have a video on it. Two, this was one of my first videos that I ever put out, something like this. It wasn't about him being their father. It was literally just like, what is the Searing Exarch? And I had 100 subs, I think. And you watched or at least commented on my video and were like, hey, I really like this video. Great job. You should continue doing this. You and Grimro were the first people who ever really encouraged me in the creator community. And I thank you so much for it.
Aw.
I really appreciate it. Then, now, forevermore. Thank you so much. With all that being said, Searing Exarch, the dad of Sin and Innocence, or someone just, from a different world?
No, it's not. It's not the dad. Clearly cleansing fire in some form. So the eldritch force in some form, which I've seen some speculation that there might be an endgame boss that might be the form that was here, which I'm not going to say because I know some people spoilers whatever, but if you know, you know.
Yep, I
But
know now.
I don't think it was exactly the Searing Exarch. However, clearly that iconography is associated with the force, the cleansing fire. And
Yeah.
in a sense, just saw whatever he saw that was related to the cleansing fire and was like, I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take that.
And he started using it everywhere, and it
Mhm.
stayed forevermore. And I wonder if we'll see more of it. I know you said the endgame boss. I learned the name thanks to Elon. Thank you so much, Elon. Really appreciate seeing that at the top of my Twitter feed. Unfollowed him, blocked him, everything, and it still appeared there. Dang it, man. So I know the name, and after hearing that you get one chance and it will take a really long time, I might watch the fight because I just want to know it. Hopefully
Mhm.
somebody does like a commentary less lore playthrough, because I presume that he has dialogue and some cool info. Like, I haven't seen the battlefield. I
I
just
think
know,
if it takes you long enough to do the fight that you see the dialogue, you're not gonna beat him.
right. See, I've heard there's a lot of powerful one shots. Maybe it sounds like there might be some timers going on where if there's a DPS check. So yeah, I'll probably have to just
Mhm.
listen to it because I'm very
I
interested.
know. I'm at the same point. I'm like, I really didn't want to get any spoilers, but I'm
Yeah,
like, "Ugh, this is taking me too long. And
right.
I've been seeing some comments and I'm like, what? I need to see that. I want to know,
Uh-huh.
but I
Yeah,
also want to get there.
I know. Maybe I really hope with all the feedback coming their way that they will change a little bit on this front. I
Mhm.
I was an avid defender and still am, to the chagrin of many, of the experience you have in Acts 1 through 3. I think that's peak. I think that's great. I actually
Oh,
think that more
it's
of the game should be
good.
like that. I hope Acts
Yeah.
4 through 6 are like that. I think that the end game genie is already out of the bottle and it's already so fast. And if it changes, I feel like we'll have arch nemesis on steroids, which sucks, but gotta accept it. Maybe they'll flatten the curve out a little bit there. But I feel like a lot of these end game things, these shots in the dark that they took with the one portal, with the grind for 200 hours to fight a pinnacle once, I feel like they're gonna change that. I really do.
It's gotta be. I
Because
really think it's gotta be a patch that they just put in to get it out because obviously
yeah.
the end game is going to be huge,
Mm-hmm.
but their current system is not it.
Yeah. I want to be able to fight it, even if it's at the lowest tier. Screw it. I don't need the
Yeah.
rewards. I just want the experience. I've never been one for the rewards. I usually fight the pinnacles in PoE1. And
Mhm.
I know, sell them. I don't want to. I just want to
No.
experience it. It's fun. Okay.
I want to
That's it.
experience it. I wanna die with about, 5% of the boss's health with my last portal and then go cry and drink some wine. That's
I'm
what
fine
I
with
wanna
that.
do.
That is the current experience I get with the Maven every league in PoE1 still. And I've been killing her since 3.13 Ritual.
I can't do Simon Says. I'm sorry. Like, I
No,
can't follow the little
I can't, especially
It's
with those
so
beams.
bad.
It's just not happening. I can't believe that Ben did them with the 6 beams, like the double beams, one going
Oh
one way,
my
the other going the
god,
other
I
way.
didn't see
Oh, in the
that.
gauntlet, never, never.
It's
Props, mad props.
gonna be
Okay,
me.
Noodle, we're a little bit over an
Mhm.
hour, hour and a half. We're okay. I have one more question for you. No
Okay.
pressure on it. Being the Loremaster of PoE, one of the greatest ARPGs of all time, what's one thing that you would add to it if you were Jonathan Rogers or Matt to improve the storytelling in an ARPG, a game that typically doesn't focus on storytelling? I know you focus a lot on telling the
A
story and explaining.
journal.
Oh,
A
damn it,
journal.
too easy. Noodle, you gotta, come on. Why haven't they done that yet? That's too easy. Like, I'm
Don't
confused.
understand. Do they not want people to read this story? Like, I'm happy because people come to me and they're like, "Oh my god, thank you. Thank you so much. You're doing such a good job." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's hard. I have a Google Doc right now where I'm writing down every single thing that I have so that I can word search for certain topics." It is a
How many?
like 12-page document right
Ooh,
now of just all
ooh.
the dialogue, you know? Just
And you
make a
write it.
journal.
You write it. You can't copy paste, can you?
No. I
Oh.
mean, there's probably like ways that you can convert an image to text, but I kind
Eh.
of like typing it because then I
Yeah.
retain some of the information.
Oh
But
yeah. You were
I've spent
quoting
hours.
dates, an hour ago. So dates and years. Come on.
Yeah.
How many times have you written
Yeah.
that day?
Not that many, but I was looking because like I was thinking about the founding of Ogam and what event could have driven whoever they
Yeah.
are, like trying to figure out what
Right.
civilization they originally were. And then looking at the date for clues and trying to compare that to other dates and, just doing noodle things.
Yeah. I think that's a gimme, Noodle. Like it would be I would read that. It's in other games I play. Like I used to play a lot of Guild Wars 2 until Path of Exile 2 came out. I haven't logged in like a month and a half. And they have the personal story and they have a journal that it doesn't even do what I think they could do in PoE2, which is lay out the dialogue and everything. It
Yeah.
tells the story in a new way. Like they rewrite what
Oh,
happens and they
wow.
summarize it. That's really cool. I would love that in PoE2 as well. But even just
Yeah.
the
Just an index.
right,
Like you open
serious.
it up
Oh,
and it says, "This act, this person. Here's the dialogues that you saw." It doesn't even have to say all of them. Maybe it just shows the ones that you decided to open.
yep.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Please help me.
Uh,
Like,
big fan. Shout out to Diablo 3 that does something like this. They
Grim
allow
Dawn
you
does
to
that?
listen to journals and everything, and they like you can listen to Deckard Cain as you're moving through an area, and you have
Ah,
physical items that are
yeah.
journals. I would love that in PoE2. Let me
It would
listen
be
to the
such
lore
a
as I
simple
go.
fix that because
Yep.
the thing is most people just don't wanna stand still for that long, and
Right.
that's fine. But let's
Yep.
say you're sitting in your hideout and you are trying to trade for something and you're
Mhm.
stuck there for minutes. You could, like, open your journal and read like, listen to the dialogue while you're trading.
Uh-oh.
Win-win.
Uh-oh.
What?
I just
What?
had a oh no. I can
Hmm,
see it now, Noodle.
hmm.
Next year's core supporter pack. $480 tier. Your your character journal. Hideout decoration. No.
That would be just a decoration, like, it doesn't do anything. Oh,
Here,
no, they
just
they
for
wouldn't dare do that.
I
I'm
don't think they would.
surprised.
Okay, maybe not 480, but I could see this actually being in a hideout decoration that you buy from the
Yeah,
store, like the music box. I would buy the hell out of that.
that's true,
If they
that could
want to
be
monetize
something.
it, hey, GGG, if you're listening, the people who want the lore will buy it. The people who don't, they just won't buy it, and you'll make a little bit of extra money. I think
I'm
you
really
will.
surprised that it's not there because I told Matt, I was like, "Look, you guys need to do this if you want people to get interested in the lore, like, you have to do it." I also think that they have still, kept some dialogue options not available if you don't talk to a person in time,
Yep.
and while I think that that is frustrating for me, just in
Mhm.
case I miss something. They also implied that they were going to have people like have different dialogue options if you just skip ahead and start doing things that they never
Right.
asked you to do but are the
Yeah.
thing that they want. And they didn't do that either. So I'm like, well,
Yeah. Going on. You got to have
make it
another
a little
chat with
bit more
Matt.
interactive.
Right.
Like,
Next Exile Con, Noodle, you got to have another chat with Matt and be like, all right,
I'm gonna pull them aside.
yeah, come here. Let's go talk. Go talk
Matthew,
over here.
where's my journal?
We'll help you put together a presentation for Jonathan. We want more here. Just this is what we should try to do. Let's do it. Come on. We have an army of
Okay.
people that are ready for this.
We're
Look at
gonna
okay.
Shark Tank this.
Yeah, seriously. I sent a
Okay.
message to one of the community managers a
Mhm,
few days ago because I saw in my analytics one of my videos had popped off that I released 4 months ago.
mhm.
It is the basics of Path of Exile lore you need to know for Path of Exile 2.
Uh-huh.
Noodle, biggest video on my channel now. 190,000 views.
Heck
It
yeah. That's
it
crazy.
peaked 4 months ago at 15,000 views. And then just PoE2 came out and it is literally like this. It's just Sky and I'm like, holy people are interested, especially all these new people who love the gameplay experience that Path of Exile 2 has to offer in the acts. They're like, ooh, yeah, Rayclast. Oh, I like this dark and gritty environment. This is way cooler than some other games
Yeah.
out there. Let's get into it. People want it. They
And
do.
like a summary is so good too because you really don't want to. You're not playing through the full
Right.
acts, right? Like you don't
Yep.
need everything. You need
Yep.
like what is the foundational knowledge? Like that makes a ton of sense to do.
Yep.
I saw your that it is good. I didn't know it got that.
Thank you.
I saw it a while ago, so I didn't know when.
Hey, Noodle, I
like
didn't
that
know either.
though.
I was like, and it's like, it said like, you passed 2 days, 60K views. And I was like, it's beating out my, whoa, hey now, what's going on? So I'd look
Hell
at your,
yeah.
I bet yours are also like I saw your Act
I
1 through
haven't
5
looked.
compilation that you released, I think like a year ago, that combined everything together. I remember it was like way lower before. And when I was searching, I saw it's at like 200,000 views or something now.
Oh, I
So, and
haven't
that's
looked.
like the
I only
compilation.
look at my analytics when I release something and I get the dopamine hit. I'm like, how many
It's
views?
it's
How many views
probably
does it have?
trending up. So, because people are really interested in it. So I was like, just so you know, people care about this. Like you can send this. I don't want to send it to Jonathan or anything, but if you want to tell the story writers like Matt, people
Yeah.
are interested in Rayclast. Like they are coming on here and
It's
they're
just
not
so
necessarily searching.
inaccessible.
Right. They're not
Mhm.
searching for like top builds or anything. They're like, I'm sure some people are, but not new people usually. They're looking up,
Yeah, yeah.
what is Rayclast? What happened in PoE
Well,
1?
because
And
there's so
it's,
many new players. Like
yep,
people who are PoE1 diehards are definitely looking for the builds. They've
yep,
already decided they don't
right,
like reading.
yep,
So,
hmm
they're
hmm
probably not gonna look that up. But there's so many players who didn't play Path of Exile 1.
yeah,
And like the story has so many pieces, especially Act 2. I'm sure a lot of people were like, the hell are they talking about?
oh
What
yeah,
is happening? There's so many
yeah,
words and so many people that they keep referring to.
hmm yeah, it was
They're
flying
talking in
at
their
you.
Mariketh.
Yep. What? Okay, one more thing. I keep saying one more thing.
Just one more map. Just one
Big
more
one
map.
more. I swear, one more, and then I want to do one more map before bed. um, they also were unapologetically unafraid of addressing some really mature themes in PoE2 especially, head on,
Mhm.
fan or not fan, of things like the uh, good guys enslaving all the prisoners of war from the Faradun and their rival stuff.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
stuff like
no,
that.
I think it's great. I think it should be
Yeah.
more complicated. I think that's one of the things that, Path of Exile has always done well, but very subtly, right? Like, with Sin, for example, like, he is if you don't read his dialogue, you're like, "Oh, yeah, he's the good guy. He's our companion," or whatever, but he's sort of a weird, pompous, like, self-assured dude who just thinks he's better than literally every other god and every other person, and he's not a bad guy. He doesn't want to I guess he doesn't wanna murder people, but he kinda does, like, he just wants to save the world from the one powerful god. Like, everything has been kind of great, but I think they did a better job of, like, visually showing things
Yeah.
instead of making you read it or going to look at flavor text of something or, putting pieces together. Um, like, there's so much more visual storytelling, so I think
Yeah.
that it not only is more interesting and you might be more, like, aware of, you literally can see these more mature topics, but it
Yeah.
also then makes you want to go hear some of the dialogues because you're like, "Oh, I just looked at all the slaves, pulling the caravan."
Yep.
You go talk to Sin, and he's like,
Yep.
"Okay, well, it was gonna be people that they put to death, so, like, maybe slavery is better, I guess." And you're like, "I I guess so, but also, don't they throw their babies in the desert?" And, like, Zarka has this whole story about Nasima of the Second Sight, I think, and she's talking about like, "Oh, yeah, she was left in the desert to die because she was born blind," and then, her Faradun captors like, what, the people who rescued her from dying in the desert? She's like, her Faradun captors, wanted to raid a Mariketh caravan, and she heard her mother's voice and killed them all. She's a real hero. And it's like, "Wait, what? You left baby in the desert. The Faradun raised her to the point that she's old enough to be a warrior and go against a Mariketh caravan. She hears her mom kills everyone in the Faradun, and that's good?
Good. You know?
She's a hero,
Crazy.
really. She
Yeah.
even says, "This is a good sleep tale for the children."
Oh,
It's like,
very
I don't
inspiring.
know. I don't know,
right?
Zarka. It sounds
Yeah.
kind of
It's
bad.
I'm personally a fan of it too. It just
Yeah.
further shows that they really respect their audience and they're like, this is a rated mature game. We believe
Hmm.
you are mature and can understand these topics that we're not saying when we have people who are like, yeah, we're using slaves. That you're instantly like, oh, it must be good, right? No, not
Yeah.
at all. It's freaking terrible. And everybody here has this different viewpoint on it, and you can read it, listen to it, and make your own conclusions.
Yeah.
I love when your character walks up there and has the dialogue. I had a debate the first few days of launch where everybody's
Hmm.
like, no, it's okay because they're undead. And I'm like,
They're not
no, they're
undead.
just depraved
They're
and
just people.
starving. They're not undead. And the witch even says,
They're
this would be a
prisoners.
lot easier if they were all dead, like undead. And I'm like,
That's great.
then when she walks up there,
That's
it's
really
like,
funny.
yeah, like, thank you for proving everybody wrong, witch. I really appreciate that. So,
Yeah, no, they're just starving and they're going to be worked until they die,
yeah, they're emaciated.
and then they're gonna
And,
be left in the sands.
mhm.
Uh, yeah,
And then the Faradun have giant dinosaurs pulling their caravans, by the way. It's
yeah,
just,
which is
yeah,
really sick.
yeah, it's
The
pretty
the
sick.
dreadnought
Yeah.
is a really, really terrible, area. Like, I hated the area, but looks super cool. Lots of
Mm-hmm.
visual intrigue. I will say I'm really bad about hitting every single dead end in an area. To be fair, I was trying to full clear places just in case there was text hidden somewhere,
Yeah.
which was absolutely awful in Act 3. I cannot believe they did not put a single piece of text in Utsal or the Drowned City.
They didn't.
That is
Mm-hmm.
evil. Evil, evil.
Yeah, but in the Temple of Rot, there's that random good girl that talks to you about mushrooms a
Yeah,
little
the
bit.
the crone, she's like, "Put some mushrooms in my cauldron. I'll give you a flask." But she doesn't say that. You could just go up and she's like, "Ah."
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
so weird. But
oh, that boss was like, I was laughing my ass off when I first
it's
saw her
so
emerge,
icky.
and she's like, "Yeah, what's going on?"
Yeah,
Oh, it's
just
so
slapping her
so good.
titties
Oh
like,
my god, it was good.
"Yeah. Either
And
I'm
she was
gonna
like
eat
squirting
you
out
or I'm gonna
mud,
fuck you."
or I don't even know if she's squirting. I was like,
Blood,
what
mud,
what is
whatever.
going on?
Get in the pool.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that
Oh
was wild. That whole
yeah.
area, but they'd have so much visual intrigue. Like,
No.
you really just look at stuff and everything not only is interesting but feels purposeful, and you might find something like there were a lot of statues around, like the whole Venom crypts and all the statues to Yaumak and everything,
Yeah.
and like so much cool stuff where they didn't do a very good job of that in Path of Exile 1. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what
No.
are you gonna do? You find a sewer and you're like, "Oh, a grain gate. Wonder where that goes." Like, that's, you know,
The environmental storytelling is top tier. I think
so
visuals
good.
and animations, all that, like 10 out of
Oh,
10 for
the
PoE2.
first time I went to the chimeral wetlands, like, all of the purples and the deep, rich colors, I was like, "Ooh, this is great."
Noodle, you haven't played it yet, but the end game legit has the best maps in all of PoE2. Like the tile sets,
Mhm.
they aren't seen yet in PoE2 and they're in different acts, or they're remixed PoE2 early on tile sets. They're beautiful. There's a
Oh,
wetlands map that is a forest mixed with a bog and a river cuts through it.
uh-huh.
Granted, I have like a 4090 and everything. Oh my god, it's so good. Like I die because I'm like, oh my gosh, that looks pretty cool.
You're like,
Oh, that's
"Ooh."
pretty. That's very pretty. Oh, there's a little frog there jumping
You're, like,
into the,
staring at a
the river.
waterfall like
Yeah. Yeah. And there's this map called Hive or something, and it's obviously like a giant ant hive or something. Oh, it looks so
Whoa.
good. The terrain. Oh, yeah.
That's crazy. The
They did
ones
it.
I did, like, Step, which didn't look great. It
Hmm.
was fine, you know? I did Sump, which
Sump?
I don't know, but the name it's
What
called
is a
Sump.
sump? No,
I
I don't
don't
even know what that means.
I don't remember. I feel like it was pretty nondescript, like
Sump.
and then I did the Hidden Grotto, which was, like, pretty, but
Yeah.
it was an awful tile set.
Oh, Noodle. The tile sets pretty much are all pretty mazy,
Awful?
pretty tight. Yeah,
Oh,
there's
no.
nothing. I haven't hit a wide expanse like a canyon or a desert.
Step?
Step is wide. Okay, so okay, cool. Look for step, even though it's nondescript and
It's
yeah, who
just
cares about
it's,
it,
like,
right?
dry
Okay,
grass and a
right.
couple
Okay,
trees.
okay, right.
Yeah.
There's a lofty summit, which is a snow map.
Ooh.
Something just fell somewhere. Uh oh, that was really loud. Uh,
I didn't hear it, so
hopefully it's okay. I'm sure if something bad happened, my wife will text me. Jeez. Everybody should be asleep right now. Okay. Well, Noodle, this has been awesome. Longest pod so far. By far, by the way.
It's just easy to talk to you,
I know.
Try.
Yeah,
It's like
that
you're
was awesome.
talkative or something.
I know.
Sorry.
And
I'll
the
leave.
look.
I'm gonna. I gotta go.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you peaked. You peaked. It's over.
Mhm.
You're like the only person that I really get to geek out about the lore with, besides chat. Some people in chat really like the lore. So this was awesome. A great experience. We'll have to talk again, like when we get the next act or something. And if there's some
Yes.
mind-blowing stuff with King's March and whatever Act 5 is, which I didn't spoil, by the way. I smiled,
No,
guys. That
I
doesn't
don't
mean I
know.
spoiled. Yeah, nothing. Nothing seeped in about Act 5. And I gotta stop saying Act 5 because then I'll randomly say the word attached or the words
Yeah, don't
attached
even.
to Act 5. No, it's not happening. Okay. So everybody in the chat right now, make sure you go check out KittenCatNoodle's YouTube channel. He releases lore videos pretty consistently. I know you say, you
No,
know,
not
okay,
no.
come on.
I don't do it consistently. I'm
You,
definitely working on
I don't
stuff.
know.
It's not consistent.
It's only Affliction. It's only Affliction that's, you know, bucked that trend, I
Affliction
feel like.
took like a year off my life.
That's besides
destroyed
Affliction,
me.
guys. Lots of lore
But
videos,
yes,
okay?
hopefully one per league, you know,
There you
and
go.
at least like I'm definitely gonna get the first 3 acts, and I don't know if I should touch the end game yet, just cause, you
No,
know.
if it's finished or it's not, or if it might just be a flash in the pan in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
sure.
But definitely 1 through 3 are in the works. Like
Wait,
in the works, I say, as I have gotten to the point of transcribing all of the dialogue and making note
bless
of
you.
weird little things like Ogum founded in 1132.
And all this Elva stuff, which I totally missed and didn't understand that it was young Elva and not Elva from. Oh, God, I'm so mad at myself.
She
Like
tells us she wants to found the
I
Reliquarians, and
didn't
then in
understand
PoE1
that.
she's like,
Okay,
the secret society of the
here's
Reliquarians. I got kicked out though, but I still like my blood magic.
here's some Try and Noodle lore for everybody. As I was supposed to close out the pod, we go to LA, right? And we meet each other for the first time, and we're sitting at this little restaurant area. And Noodle's like, I'm gonna Try some lore questions. And she asked me like one, and I answer it. I was like, fine. And then the second question she asked was like, what do we call the tears of the, or no, what are virtue gems called by the Val? And I'm like, ah, what are they called? Sitting there with her and Ziggy, and I think Havoc was there too, and maybe Eustace. And I'm just like, oh my, I can't remember. Oh my God, I can't remember. And literally 30 minutes later, Tears of the Magi. Oh my God. Oh, it was really bad.
You did fine. Also, he's just as excited in person. He's got this much energy. He's just got good vibes.
I was
It's
so
crazy.
mad. Noodle, I was so mad at myself. I went and I cried in my hotel room after.
No.
I was like, I called my wife and I'm like, you won't believe what happened. Oh my God. It was my moment. And I totally just fell flat on my face. That was a nerve-wracking experience. I don't know. When you first went and met like all the PoE people, were you really like I felt like I was in a shell and I couldn't like talk to anybody. And you were so nice and welcoming. So was Ghazi and a lot of other people. But like, I felt so off that first time.
Oh, really? I didn't get that sense at all.
Okay,
No, I
mentally.
didn't really feel nervous except for sometimes there was a couple people that I didn't know and I didn't want to be like rude or anything. I think there were some people who were maybe have different main games or something. And I just like didn't want to come across as like, oh, I don't know who you are or anything. But I've known quite a few of them for a bit. Like I know Ziggy, I know Zizarin, like I've met them before, which helps. But also I was just kind of like, we're a bunch of nerds. We're just hanging out. We love a game, you know.
I feel like I realized that when I got home and I was like, well, next time that's not going to happen. There's no need to feel nervous. Everybody's just so chill, especially in person. So can't wait for hopefully there's another event like that or ExileCon.
I really hope so.
I'm putting money away. I'm like, this is the time we go to New Zealand. We're going to go to ExileCon. We're going to stay there for a week. We're going to go see all of the cool stuff because that is a dream of mine. Probably never would have been realized unless this happened. Like this is a perfect storm of stuff for me. That was always like a pipe dream of going to New Zealand and seeing all that stuff. So yeah, one day.
I bet you'll be able to do it. I don't know what they're gonna do, if it'll be another ExileCon, what they're gonna do, but they should do it again because it was absolutely awesome. And you gotta go. You gotta go.
Gonna happen. It's not gonna be 2025. Jonathan said no, but he did say in the future, almost definitely doing it. So 2026.
I mean, you're doing interviews now. Maybe you could be interview guy.
There you go. You can, me and Ziggy. Just fly me and Ziggy out. Okay, we'll tag team. It'll be good, right? We'll see. We'll see. Okay. All right. I swear this is the outro time.
Okay.
All right. We're doing the outro. We're being very professional. Okay. Everybody go check out KittenCatNoodle on YouTube, where she puts out semi-consistent YouTube videos. And there will be stuff legally and for the first 3 acts of Path of Exile 2 and probably acts 4 through 6 whenever we get those. Noodle, any last words to all of our wonderful live viewers and the many people who will watch this VOD, hopefully to the end, hour 48 minutes. Holy well.
Yeah, hour 48. I guess all I can say is stay sane, exiles.
I'm not even going to say anything. All right. We're just going to cut it there. It's going to cut it there on YouTube. Thank you so much, Noodle. That was awesome.